AITA for embarrassing a lunch thief at work. Story 2. AITA for telling my parents I'm going to be as big a problem as my sister from now on. Story 3. AITA for not asking my mother-in-law nicely to hand over the baby for feeding. AITA for embarrassing a lunch thief at work. So I started a new job recently. I work in small studio. There are several others in the building. Think open plan office with sections assigned to each studio. The person I had an altercation with doesn't work for my studio, just FYI. I eat lunch at 1-ish and most people eat at 12. I came down early to eat at 12. I made coffee and while at the counter noticed my Tupperware in the sink, empty. Imagine my surprise when I turned around and saw a man I didn't know sitting down at the table with my food on his plate. He had just stuck it in the microwave. Acting rashly since I was mad, I sat down next to him and said, "Hey, that looks good. Mind if I try it?" Then before waiting for an answer, I yanked the plate away from him and snatched his fork out his hand. He just blinked in shock, as did the other people there as I started eating. He then, quite loudly, asked what I thought I was doing and I replied, "How you know this was actually much better when I first cooked it. It probably lost some flavor in the fridge." He caught on quickly that it was my food and went a lil red. I then asked him where he got the gall to steal someone else's lunch and then asked them what they were doing when they took it back. He stuttered out some nonsense about not knowing it was mine and I replied, "Well, you knew it wasn't yours, right?" He just mumbled something like an apology and I said, "That's no problem, it was nice." He'd warmed it up for me at least, in an admittedly bitchy tone, and then he just got up and left and the people there just stared in silence. Two of the silent watchers, maybe his mates, I don't know, told me that I was rude to him and that there had been nicer ways to go about it. I told them to think how they'd feel if someone ate their food before saying they should focus on their lunch and I'll focus on mine. Well, it's been a little awkward at lunch since and I have the impression a few people are talking shite about me at work now. Maybe I could have been nicer, sure. I still don't think I was wrong, but tell me Reddit AITA. Top 5 comments. 1. NTA lol you. R.N. Absolute. Baller. Honestly, you handled it in an epic fashion. Don't think anybody is going to mess with you from now on. Don't worry about the whispers, I reckon most likely people will deep down respect you more. Well, at least I would if I worked there. Good job. Edit. Haha, how the hell has this comment got 20k plus upvotes and awards? Thanks all. Love ya. 2. Two of the silent watchers, maybe his mates, I don't know, told me that I was rude to him and that there had been nicer ways to go about it. They can buy him a lunch if they want to be nice to the food thief. NTA. 3. NTA. Someone stole my lunch last week and I am not ashamed to admit that I burst into tears and it ruined my whole shift. The catharsis I am feeling while reading this is amazing. 4. NTA. You're not an e-hole for putting him on blast. It was well deserved and based on your retelling pretty funny as well. He's obviously an asshole on the other hand, stealing other people's food without any concern about leaving you without any food to eat. 5. NTA. And I love a lunch thief story where they actually get caught. It's unbelievable that so many people out there are willing to steal someone's food like that. Story 2. AITA for telling my parents I'm going to be as big a problem as my sister from now on. I 17 female and the responsible kid according to my parents. I have 2 siblings, 14 female, 11 male, and my bro and I get along because we're both pretty quiet and easygoing, but my sister is a complete bitch, to put it frank. She throws a fit whenever she doesn't get her way and usually my parents just give in because she's a big pain to deal with for days. She always has to be the center of attention and she causes problems to get attention when she's not. Gets really f***ing old. I drive them to school and pick them up now and our mom gave me money to get us fast food for dinner since she and my dad have a work thing and won't be home till late in the evening. My sister likes McDonald's, but I hate McDonald's and we always eat what she wants, so I say we're going to Sonic because I know my bro likes their food and so do I. My sister insists we go to McDonald's and I told her I'm driving. I decide where we go and both me and bro are tired of McDonald's. She can shut up and deal. She starts screaming at me, tries to call our parents and doesn't get an answer, and eventually sulks and refuses to order food. I get an extra pack of chicken in case she changes her mind and take us home. She has a screaming, crying fit to our parents later about it. Over f***ing McDonald's. Later my mom says I know how she gets and to just humor her next time, and I say I'm not going to anymore, and also it's shitty that she gets her way all the time and they need to tell her to can it and make her do stuff me and my bro like sometimes or leave her at home. My mom says she's difficult and we're more easygoing, so I say, so you're saying I'm too nice and I need to be difficult to get what I want. Assignment understood. I'm going to be as much of a problem as I can from now on. Then I started not doing any more chores than she does none, using some of her more irritating phrases to the parents, and loudly complaining about anything she wants to do. And now I'm the bad guy and being mean, and they say I need to be the mature example, but also it kinda worked. They finally made her go to a restaurant we like and never get to go to. AITA. Top 5 comments. 1. NTA. It seems your parents are enablers, and though I don't really recommend your course of action, it seems to work. I'd also stop doing things for the sister. Can you pick her up? Nope. She's going to scream and cry about some arbitrary thing so she can figure out her own way home. Here's money for food, not for her. She'll scream and cry if she doesn't get what she wants, so give her money so she can sort it out herself, while bro and I get food. Can you take the trash out? No, I feel that I just enable her as that is her chore, not mine. If you're not holding her to her chores, why should you hold me to mine? Anyway, don't become hated by your parents and kicked out because you're taking a stand. Get a job, make money, study, whatever you do, and move out and go low no contact with your sister unless she suddenly stops being spoiled. 2. NTA Bravo. Your parents failed on raising your sister and you and your brother suffered. Now your parents can deal with the fallout of their bad parenting. 3. NTA. This was the standard they set. The squeaky wheel gets the grease right. Parenting isn't easy, and treating your kids evenly is the best you can do. But that's not what they did. Your little sister realized early on that she could get her way by acting difficult. They should have nipped that in the bud as soon as possible. They didn't. And now they have 2 likely soon 3 troublemaking kids that know their parents are weak and cave to complaining. It's not to notice what they've been putting in front of your face for years. I feel bad that you have to act this way for them to get it, but you tried the more diplomatic route first. They just forced your hand. 4. NTA. Your parents need to do some parenting, otherwise your sister will just keep on getting worse and worse. You're being punished for being responsible, and that's just not right, and it's bad parenting by your parents. 5. NTA. The reason people like your sister act that way is because they have been allowed to act that way. Until your parents decide to make her accountable and suffer consequences, I would do exactly like what you are doing. If they don't make her accountable, she will grow up to be a whiny, insufferable ass. Story 3. AITA for not asking my mother-in-law nicely to hand over the baby for feeding. Hi, I'm a new mom, had my son 5 weeks ago. My husband's parents have been staying with us and things have been super overwhelming. MIL has a habit of taking the baby and refusing to give him back to me. She'd say I'm deliberately ruining her time with him. My son needs feeding every 2 hours and she basically makes me beg her to hand him over to me so I could feed. Last night at 10 p.m., mother-in-law had my son in her arms while sitting on the couch with my husband and his dad. I was exhausted. The baby started crying. I told my mother-in-law to hand him over to me so I could feed him. She refused and I kept asking. My husband starts talking about what a winny little girl I was to complain that our son is receiving love and cuddles and how I'm using feeding as an excuse to keep the baby away from his mom. I ignored him and told his mom to hand over the baby. She refused and said I needed to wait a little longer. I got angry at this point. My husband said I could take the baby after I asked his mom nicely. This had me seething. I meanly told his mom to stop being annoying and overbearing and hand him over to me. She looked at me shocked and hurt. She handed the baby over and ran into the guest room, and my husband gave me a look, then followed her and stayed inside to comfort her. He came into the room while I was feeding my son and started yelling about how disrespectful I was to speak to his mom this way and treat her poorly when all she's doing is showing our son more love than I do. I told him about how she's been taking the baby for hours and preventing me from feeding him properly. He said that 1, our son isn't an object for me to act like I own him, and 2, his mom was doing nothing wrong, and 3, I should have asked nicely instead of being a $$CH to his mom and making her cry. I started crying and yelled that I'd go to my mom's place if his parents stay any longer, and he yelled back saying, "Shut the fuck up. You're only acting up cause you don't want my parents around. Fuck's wrong with you?" Then walked out. I felt terrible thinking maybe I was rude to his mom, but I also think that I'd hit my limits here. AITA for not asking her nicely like my husband wanted. Top 5 comments. 1. NTA. Pack your gear and take baby to your parents. Rethink your relationship as well. Who the hell speaks to their wife like that, especially after having baby? Protect your mental, physical health at all cost. 2. NTA at all, and I'm very alarmed at your husband calling you a whiny little girl for trying to feed your child, and then attempting to prevent him from being fed even when he was crying until you asked his mother nicely for permission to feed your own child. You seriously need to evaluate if this is a safe environment for your child to be raised in. 3. Showing your son more love than you do, well, maybe because the monster-in-law is hogging the baby. She's doing more harm than good and obviously doesn't love that baby as much as he thinks if she can sit there and hear them cry because they're hungry. NTA, but please get out before anything happens. They sound super toxic. I hope all goes well. Stay safe, Opus. 4. NTA. Your baby is only 5 weeks old. Your mother-in-law and husband are way out of line. If she really wants to help, she should cook and clean and make sure you and baby are comfortable, not fight with you and demand that the baby isn't ready for you. Your husband's behavior is also extremely troubling. You should go to your mother's for a week to get away. 5. NTA. Pack up and head to your mom's. Then divorce his ass. He clearly has no respect for you and his swearing at you is not acceptable. You need to ask yourself if this is the life you want. You deserve much more. Normally, I might suggest some counseling, but not with that asshole. Sue him for divorce and go no contact with his overbearing mother.